Hey, Sixth Graders, Mr. Mortz here. Happy Wednesday. And today we're going to learn about the bubonic plague, also more commonly known as the Black Death. And we're just going to briefly also talk about the end of medieval Europe. So today you're watching my explanation video already. After this video, please watch this detailed video about the bubonic plague. And then everybody, I just attached for your viewing the simulation we would have done in class. It's a really fun simulation, and if you want to view that, you're welcome to do that. So, anyways, everybody, I alluded to yesterday that with the Mongols, a big impact they had is upon leaving Europe, they gave the Europeans a quote unquote present. And it was a very unpleasant present, and that was the Black Death. So, the legends go, everybody, that in one of the easternmost cities of medieval Europe on the Crimean Peninsula, and I'll show you that on a map in a second, that since they couldn't take over the city and they had to leave, that they launched bodies of dead soldiers who had been infected with the bubonic plague into the city as a sort of, hey, we're leaving, but here you go. Because the reason that they had to leave was their army was being decimated by the Black Plague. So the Mongolians are often attributed to kind of starting the bubonic plague in Europe. So, anyways, this was a plague that spread throughout pretty much all of Europe. Hardly any parts were left untouched. And the plague, the reason why it's so famous, everybody, it's estimated to have nearly killed 50% of Europe's population at the time. Just think about that, everybody. Think about that number 50% of Europe's entire population. That is a huge number. At best, it's believed to have only killed around a third, but most statistics agree around 50%. Whoops. So, as you can see, everybody, often the bubonic plague is famous for rats. It's often believed that the bubonic plague, in fact, it's known that the bubonic plague is spread by rodents, primarily rats. Fleas would bite rats. Fleas would jump onto humans, bite humans, and transmit the plague that way. And once it spread, it spread. It did not take much to spread, and we'll see why that is in a second. But anyways, everybody, two things. First, the symptoms. What does it do? Fever, headache, swelling. The famous thing with the bubonic plague is the boo-boos it would cause. You would get these great big pus-filled boo-boos on your body, and once they burst, that was another way of transmission of the bubonic plague. You'd be nauseated, you would be vomiting, you would have pains and aches, and ultimately this just kind of shut down your body because you'd have these boo-boos all over your body. Your body's trying to fight all these things going on, and it would just shut down your body at a time whenever there was nothing close to what we have for modern medicine and hospital care and whatnot. Plague doctors, something you may have also seen. This wasn't something that was just made up for humorous purposes. The plague doctor that looks like a bird, there's a reason. They would try to cover themselves from head to toe to avoid transmission. They'd have glass eyes, truly covering themselves head to toe. The beak wasn't just for looks. They would stuff the beak with herbs and spices. This is kind of your medieval mask to cover yourself with. And again, you can just see from head to toe covered. They'd often keep wooden sticks to keep people away, keep them at a safe distance. And then a map, everybody. So Crimea, it's this little peninsula here in what is now Russia. And the Mongols were trying to conquer a big city along this peninsula, and that is where the plague is believed to have started. And you can see, everybody, year by year, 1347 is whenever the first real big outbreak happened. And you can see these areas in orange is where that first outbreak started. And you can probably guess what these black lines are, everybody, and just look in the map too. The plague spread by trade because rats would crawl on these ships, take a trip to Naples, take a trip to Genoa, take a trip to Marseille, and the rats would get off the ship. The fleas would be right with them, and you can see how this would spread. 1348, all this in green became areas of the plague, and then this light yellow, and then purple, and then red. Poland, parts of Poland and East Europe were left untouched. Kind of a weird thing, but those are about the only areas untouched by this. but 50% of Europe was killed. And something that this contributed to kind of the decline of medieval Europe and the church's power, everybody, is even members of the clergy, members of the Catholic Church, priests and whatnot were getting sick and being killed by this. Pope, I believe, I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I'm pretty sure one of the Catholic popes was killed by the bubonic plague. So nobody was left untouched, and this kind of put a dent in the church's power. So, anyways, everybody, the other thing I want to touch on today, the end of medieval Europe. What is considered the end? The end is considered with the collapse of the other Roman Empire. So remember, both Roman empires did not collapse. 1456 is the kind of end year of what is called medieval Europe. The Ottoman Empire, an Islamic tribe from modern day Turkey, conquered Constantinople. And if you remember, everybody, Constantinople was the capital of the Byzantine Empire. And that Byzantine Empire was the other Roman Empire that lived on the eastern half. And the reason it's considered the end of medieval Europe is, one, the Byzantine Empire collapsed, a major medieval force, but also new technologies were being used in medieval warfare: cannons, gunpowder, guns. So this is kind of the marking of the end of medieval Europe. So anyways, sixth graders, what I'd like you to now, just watch that Bubonic Plague 101 video. There are no Google Classroom questions to answer today. And if you want to view it, you can look at that simulation we would have done had we been in school. So have a great day, guys. See you later.